And so this is another almost impossible to sing again by Maestro Giuseppe Verdi, but this time from the opera La Forza del Destino. I think most of you may already be aware of the scene where Don Carlo, the brother of Leonora, sings a very brilliant piece that starts with Morir tremenda cosa, followed immediately by the very well-known aria Urna fatale, and then ends up with a very, very challenging cavatina. So the whole complete scene has the baritone singing for over 6 minutes and a half, depending on whether he sings it complete or he's skipping some bars. So really a really challenging piece, which of course, when there is something challenging, there is always room for cuts to be made for the sake of not putting on too much danger the singer. And now I am putting on the screen, in fact, the final part of the aria Urna Fatale, uh, and I would like us to inspect the final bars. Of course, in the upper part, we have the preparation for the ending. Disperso vada il mal pensiero. This comes after a series of repetition. Disperso vada il mal pensiero, che al lato indegno mi concito. After that series of repetitions, is that comes this final part, which is where we have, in one hand, we have to accept the whole. Maybe we should tell before that the role of Don Carlo is a very difficult one, among one of the most difficult baritone roles written by Maestro Verdi. So it is true that daring to sing it, it's already an achievement. But when reaching the most important aria, this one before the cavatina, um, you have this close to impossible part to sing because after having said, pay attention at how it is actually written. After disperso y vada il mal pensiero che ha lato indegno. Look at how it written. It sounds more like if it was a part for Violetta Valery in La Traviata. It looks a lot more like the ending of one of her aria in the first act because this could be ornaments that could be easily more required for a soprano voice. However, we have to accept that this is too much for a baritone voice. There are more than 20 notes written in one bar for a heavy voice. Of course, we have also explained and shared in the past that it is important that all tesituras, not only the coloratura or the light tesituras, go and rehearse your ornaments, your agilities, because you could be dealing with cadenzas and some other ornaments as the achacaturas and occasionally thrills for the tenors, so that it sounds nice. And of course, the baritones are also requested to work on them so that it sounds as nice as well. But we have to admit that this is way too much. More than 20 notes in one bar for a baritone voice, this is way too much. And since this is way too much for most voices, baritone voices. In fact, I have to confess that I have heard only one baritone sing it closely to written. He couldn't sing not all the notes, and not all of them were in pitch, but at least he attempted to do it. And it was for a not very well known baritone. In fact, I looked for his version, but I was not successful. I was unable to find it. If I happen to find it later, I will let you know. And also, I wanted to invite you that if you know of any baritone, and moreover, if you can point us to where we can hear him doing all the singing all these notes in this bar, please point us in that direction so that everybody can see how it is supposed to be done. The other problem is not only that there are these are way too many notes for a baritone voice. The other thing, and please allow me this expression, is that I think that it falls out of the character. I not sure, I understand why Maestro Verdi chose to add so many ornaments at the end of this series of repetition. Remember that he comes from singing Disperso vada il mal pensiero, disperso vada il mal pensiero che ha nato indegno mi concito. So how do you reach to mi concito? And playing with this high and lower, high and lower, it looks like, if not random, at least not fully justified for the psyche of the character. So if I was to justify the baritones for not doing it, I could say that yes, there are way too many notes for a baritone voice to sing, and on the other, it really feels like out of place for the psyche of the character. Still, I insist, if you know of any version of a baritone who actually sings it, please paste it in the comments. And now let's get to the job. Let's get to sharing with you four versions on how the baritones are actually doing it. But pay attention and notice that I am going to be playing right after, or for the final bar, right after when they say calato indeño, mi concito. You will notice that many of them repeat more mi concito. It is a typical resource of all singers when they don't want to do it and when they want to add something that they like to say ah si, or me. And this is going to be the case for this aria. And so let's start with baritone Carlos Almaguer. Of course, this being a live recording, it does not have the best quality, but we want to inspect and how he does his final part of Mi Conchito and how he's actually skipping that part. That's going to be. I think I'm going to move it a little. Hmm, maybe I don't want to closely block the so that you can perceive at least a little of the internet page that I am taking it from. So maybe this would work somehow. So you can take a look at the actual recording and also the final part of the Mi Conchito and see how creative each of the baritones is for the wrapping up of this one. So let's listen to baritone Carlos Almaguer. Of course, you notice it yourself, not even close to what is written. We have already explained our rationale of why, but now let's listen to the very, very great baritone Tita Rufo.
Mi concito è alla tua indegna mi colpito
You notice it yourself, he didn't do it either. Let's go for baritone Gian Giacomo Guelfi and how he goes for this challenging part.
mi concito ogni
You notice again, he didn't do it. He did, in fact, this is the one that I liked the least. And we cannot have a comparison or an inspection of how baritones do it without the very great baritone Ettore Bastianini. Of course, this is also a very well-known recording of him, along with the great Franco Corelli and the superb singer Renata Tebaldi. Let's listen to how he goes for this part.
e all'alto indegno mi concitò ne conscitò ognor.
Of course, he didn't do it either. Maybe you have never paid attention to this part in particular, but I also wanted to close today's video with a comment that Katya usually does. And that comment is that if you're not going to sing all the notes that are written for your character, for your role, don't even sing it. I adhere not 100% to her comment, but I also like to see singers adhering more to what is written. In this case, I adhere to what I shared with you earlier. I think this is way too much, but if you think any differently, please send a comment.